Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for being here this evening to help us get these important messages out about a significant storm that is coming to our county. We have several speakers with us today, and we're going to start off with Mark Jackson of the National Weather Service.
Okay, thank you, Terry. My name is Mark Jackson, MarkJackson. I'm a meteorologist in charge for the National Weather Service office in Oxnard. We're expecting a significant winter storm starting Tuesday night and extending into Thursday. This is likely going to be the most or the strongest storm of the winter season that we've seen so far. What makes this storm a little unusual for March is the fact that we have a tremendous amount of moisture coming out of the subtropics. You may have heard the term of atmospheric river. You may have heard the term of a pineapple express, which a pineapple express is simply a variety of an atmospheric river. And there's tremendous amount of moisture coming up out of the Pacific. We're already seeing, if you look up, some of the high-level parts of that moisture is coming up. It'll start hitting in earnest Tuesday night into Wednesday. We will see rain become heavier and with the possibility of heavier rain showers on Wednesday into Thursday. The key with this storm as well is the duration. We are expecting down to the coast and the valleys, down to the coast, 4 to 6 inches of rainfall up until Friday morning. As you go up into the mountains, because of the winds that are out of the southwest, it pushes that moisture up into the hills. And so we have the potential to receive upwards of 10 inches of rainfall up into the higher elevations, which of course would make this a very significant storm. Another key to this storm is the possibility of rainfall rates that can trigger debris flows. And it's not necessarily the total amount of rain that occurs, it's how fast that rain falls. So at this time, we're looking at the period of Wednesday afternoon into Thursday with the potential for rainfall rates to exceed those thresholds that the United States Geological Survey has set for the potential for debris flows. So the kind of rates that we're speaking about right now are around a half inch up to a 3/4 of an inch per hour. There is that potential, and it's unknown at this time. We'll have a better picture once we get closer to the storm. But there is that potential that we could have higher rainfall rates on the order of an inch to an inch and a quarter per hour. So it's a very can be a very dangerous storm, a very long-lasting storm. We also have the possibility not only of debris flows within the recent burn areas, but also as we get extended into the storm and the soil starts to become a little more saturated, we have the potential for some small stream and definitely urban flooding. And there is the possibility within some of the watersheds we may have some more of the main stem flooding. We'll have to watch that as we get into Thursday. The good news is that we should be drying out on Friday, and even better news is that we should be mainly dry through the remainder of all the way into next week. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sheriff Bill Brown. I want to thank you for being here. As you have just heard from the National Weather Service, we're expecting a long-duration weather event with a large amount of rainfall over a 36-hour period, with totals of 2 to 5 inches at lower elevations and potentially up to 10 inches at higher elevations. The rainfall amount is predicted to reach both our hourly and 3-hour period intensity thresholds that scientists have told us could trigger a possible serious and significant debris flow. After consultation with our county emergency officials and weather experts, we are ordering a mandatory evacuation order for areas below the Thomas, Sherpa, and Whittier burn areas. This means that if you live in a red, a yellow, or a gray zone, you will need to evacuate. The mandatory evacuation order will go into effect tomorrow at noon, and we ask that everyone be out of that area by 5 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. If you have access or functional needs, or if you have large animals that need to be moved out of the area, you should begin the evacuation process now. We understand the process of evacuating is tiring and frustrating, and we know that it is an extraordinary hardship on everyone who's being asked to leave their homes or to close their businesses once again. We know it is disruptive, costly, and inconvenient. But please know that we would not be making this decision without it being our belief that it is necessary to protect your safety. Our decision is based on the information we have that there is enough rain on the way to trigger a potential debris flow that could threaten life and property, and thus we have no choice really but to do this. It is simply not worth risking lives to avoid evacuations. We ask that you please cooperate with the evacuation and get yourself and your family out of harm's way. And even though today was a beautiful sunny day, and in some ways it may seem counterintuitive, we are told that the forecast is not expected to change for the better, and indeed that we should expect significant rainfall in the days ahead. And that's why these evacuations are necessary and potentially life-saving. Unlike during the last storm, this time we are asking all people who live or work in the red, yellow, and gray areas to evacuate. Please go to the interactive map at the county's website at readysbc.org. Again, that's readysbc.org. You can go on that site and you can check and see if you fall into one of those areas. And if you do, we ask that you please leave by 5 p.m. tomorrow. As previously, we will work to get you back to your homes as soon as it is safe to do so. Sheriff's deputies will be going door to door tomorrow to as many locations as possible, but because of the widespread area of this evacuation, it will not be possible for deputies to contact each and every resident living in that area. So we once again ask you to spread the word about this mandatory evacuation order. Tell your family, tell your friends, and please help them evacuate if necessary. And if you do not live in the evacuation area, please reach out and take the initiative to contact and help friends or family members who need a place to stay. The Red Cross will have an evacuation center set up tomorrow at noon at the Earl Warren Showgrounds, and we want to thank the Red Cross once again for stepping up to do this. I thank all of you again, and again I remind everyone that we are all in this together, and we will all get through this together. And I thank you for your continued cooperation and support.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. I'm Cindy Ponce, the Santa Barbara, California Highway Patrol Captain. The CHP will monitor the storm, anticipated to arrive tomorrow evening and continue into Thursday morning. We will determine if public safety is at risk and whether or not the 101 needs to be shut down. During the last two storms that required evacuations, we determined that public safety was not threatened on the 101, and we were able to keep it open. We hope that we will be able to do the same during this storm. However, this storm is predicted to be much longer and more intense than the two previous storms. So if we deem that lives are at risk, the 101 will be shut down immediately. We ask that everyone stay out of the area in case the storm does cause debris flows that require us to close the 101. The last thing that we want is for someone to be caught in a debris flow or stranded on the freeway. We understand how unsettling closing the freeway is to our communities, and these decisions are not made lightly. And we ask for your continued patience and cooperation as we endure this next storm. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's Kevin Taylor with the Montecito Fire Department, and I'm one of the Unified Incident Commanders for the local Type 3 Incident Management Team. Given the significant forecast from the National Weather Service of the longer duration storm, the atmospheric river, the 10-inch total potential rainfall in the foothills, and of course the rainfall intensities, we've elected to mobilize the local Type 3 Incident Management Team beginning tomorrow afternoon. And the local front country fire departments, the sheriff's office, and sheriff search and rescue will be increasing staffing levels concurrent with that mobilization. Early Wednesday, resources from outside the area will be called in to help reinforce our local responders before the highest of the rain intensities arrive. All of these resources will be pre-positioned in the front country in advance of any potential debris flow. So I guess the point that I wanted to make is to let you know that the emergency responders are taking this forecast very seriously and staffing appropriately, and that we encourage you to do the same. Please heed the mandatory evacuation orders, and to obtain the most current information or register for alerts, please navigate to readysbc.org. Thank you.
My name is Robert Lewin. I'm the director of the County Office of Emergency Management. This storm is not the storm to question. This is a legitimate, hard-coming storm that has the potential to cause destruction. It has the potential to take lives, and you need to heed the evacuation orders. There's an atmospheric river coming that has the potential to drop more rainfall in one storm than is often delivered in a whole year in Santa Barbara County. 10 inches of rain coming in one storm, one period of time, undoubtedly could cause just localized flooding without a burn area. 10 inches of rain falling on a burn area is something that we don't understand exactly what's going to happen. We know that intensities above a half an inch per hour can cause debris flows. What we don't know is that the cumulative rate of rain coming, what it will do, but we do know, logically, that we could experience rock falls in the burn area for those people that live in burn areas, mudslides in the burn areas and below the burn areas, and we also know that we could have, and probably will have, debris flows in our channels and creeks. The good news is we have cleared our debris basins and our channels, but we have to make sure that we're not completely depending on them because they were also cleared at the 1.9 debris flow. We also understand that a storm this big can cause lowland flooding, and therefore the folks in those areas also need to do as ordered and evacuate if they're in one of the red or yellow areas in the lowlands. For the folks that live in the Alamo burn area, we're placing you in a evacuation warning area, in a recommended evacuation warning area. What does this mean for the folks in the Alamo burn areas? You need to pay close attention. If at any time you feel threatened, you need to take action. The burn area is not as steep as the Thomas, Chirp, and Whittier burn areas, but it has the potential for land movement. So we need you to pay attention if you're in the Alamo burn area. If we find that the situation is changing, then we'll try to alert you. But sometimes these storms don't give us very much warning, so for now we're going to hold it at that. The Red Cross shelters are both at the Earl Warren Showgrounds and also at the Ventura College at 12 p.m. tomorrow for the folks in Carpinteria. So we have 2 shelters now that we can use. If you have animals and you need to evacuate them, we would like you to call the County Animal Services hotline at 805-681-4332, 805-681-4332 to get instructions on evacuating your animals. There is going to be evacuation shelters for both large and small animals. The decision to evacuate does not come lightly. It's thoughtfully done. A group of emergency professionals come together. We hear from the National Weather Service. We continue to consult with our scientists, and we therefore have instituted this evacuation order. It is your responsibility now to heed that evacuation order and take care of yourself and your family. I'd like now to invite up, let me make one more comment before I leave. There's plenty of debris on those mountains. We have photographs that the scientists have taken. We have had folks in helicopters and on the ground, and I'm telling you that those mountains are locked and loaded with debris, and that debris is ready to be mobilized and to be brought down that mountain. And now I'd like to turn it over to our County Superintendent of Schools.
Good evening. My name is Susan Salcido, Santa Barbara County Superintendent of Schools. I'm very, very thankful for this opportunity to talk about our schools as they are affected with this storm, upcoming storm. By our schools, in this case, what I mean what it includes are public schools, our private schools, Santa Barbara City College, and Westmont. And in the areas of the public schools and private schools, I'm talking about Carpinteria, Montecito, Santa Barbara. I'll also talk a little bit about Hope School District and Goleta School District in a moment. And I want to say thank you, deep thanks to the emergency personnel and our district leaders and school leaders and Ellen Barger from the County Education Office, who've been speaking regularly and frequently about the storms. And the reason I want to say thank you and acknowledge them and share with you that they're talking regularly and frequently is that the decision to close school or move school or keep school open is a very, very important one. And we've been talking about this daily, if not more than 2-3 times a day, each day. So what I want to share with you is that not only are they talking with one another, but they're also providing regular and frequent communication with their school communities. So Carpinteria to its school community, Montecito Union with their school community, Cold Spring, and so forth. And I say that because it's really important to continue to read those updates and social media posts from the schools, because they'll provide very detailed information beyond the details I'll be sharing today. So with the exception of Carpinteria Unified, all other schools that I've mentioned are going to either be open or be able to relocate to an alternative site during most of the storm. I'm not going to say it's for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at this time, but we'll talk a day at a time. For sure tomorrow, those schools, with the exception of Carpinteria Unified, will be able to remain open or move to an alternative site. The reason Carpinteria Unified is different is because it's isolated, it has multiple sites. There are no alternative sites for all of the schools. So for Carpinteria Unified, they will be closed on Tuesday, very likely closed on Wednesday, and again, I will have to keep you posted for Thursday. Other schools that have used alternative sites, an example of that is Montecito Union, using the 3 elementary school sites at Hope, will be using those sites. Another example is Cold Spring School, using the formerly El Rancho elementary site in Goleta, will be using that alternative site for tomorrow for sure. And again, we'll keep you posted for Wednesday and Thursday. Westmont and Kate, those schools that have students who are boarding or spending the night or living there because of on campus, they're a college, they will be sheltering in place. Schools will remain open, but schedules might be affected. So again, school communities will be alerted. I'd like to end by saying a big thank you to those school sites that are accommodating and hosting other schools to come on board. Not only are you hosting and being so generous, but being a welcome place for our youth, our faculty and staff is truly means so much. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much to our speakers. We're happy to take a few questions. Susan, can you come to the mic, please?
The question has to do with available funds for schools to be reimbursed for some of the displacements and facility costs, et cetera. Yes, all of our schools, private schools, public schools, are all aware of the different funding sources that are available to help replace and replenish costs. We're working on that. Yep, thank you.
All right. The question referred to where we're expecting the heaviest precipitation to be within the 4-county area, and that bullseye right now is right along. If you could draw a center on the Thomas Burn area, that's where that bullseye would be. What we use is a collection of sophisticated numerical models that give us a numerical forecast of the expected precipitation. We also know that with this type of situation, with the way this storm is coming in and the way that the winds are blowing, the direction of the winds are blowing from southwest to northeast directly into this massive, from sea level to 10,000 feet in no time at all, that pushes that air up. And so that's why we're able to align where those winds are coming from with the orientation of those ridges to be able to say that, especially within these hills of Santa Barbara County, that that's where we'll expect to see the highest rainfall totals across the area. And I want to emphasize again what Rob Lewin said earlier on the amount of debris that is up in those basins. The county has taken extensive efforts to tour those basins and have concluded that there is still plenty of debris left in those channels. This is something that we see every year with every burn area. The fact that there's been one debris flow doesn't mean that the threat is less. In fact, it means that the threat is even greater, because if you look at the dynamics of these channels and what the previous debris flows did is they cleared out the channels, and now all of that eroded earth and soil is now uncovered and allowed any other loose rocks and debris to now come down even easier. So it's almost even a higher threat now that we've even had one debris flow. And these things move at tremendous speeds. We saw how fast those moved on January. We had video of those. They moved too fast to outrun, and so that's why you absolutely must heed the warnings of the officials for evacuations and don't take your chances.
Is there any history of these type of extra debris flows around the world that you know of that kind of shows an example?
You mean in terms of a repeat debris flow after one's already occurred? So the question was about any other situations that we've seen in which we had a debris flow after one occurred. As a matter of fact, we did in 2009 and 2010 above La Cañada Flint Ridge. We had a debris flow in November of 2009, and of course that then followed with a very catastrophic debris flow on February 6th of 2010. Same burn area. It's a matter of where these cells all line up. Keep this in mind as well. With the debris flows we saw in January, that everything lined up just right for that debris to come down, but there's other basins that did not have any debris that came loose that still can come down and funnel down into the coastal plain. So that's why the threat will not be over, and we're a long ways from that threat being over. It's a little different to tell. The way these debris flows work, there's a lot of factors such as slope. We had everything kind of come together in what you call a perfect storm in January, but we also have other basins up there that have similar orientations where if you get the right amount of rainfall on the upper reaches of those basins that can then funnel in and all kind of come down together. If you go look up on those hills, it's been doing it for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. It's a natural flow of everything down to the ocean. And so how they all behave in different areas, say in La Conchita, you heard mentioned earlier of the Alamo fire, and you have a little bit different slopes up there. You don't have the same slope that you have here. You also have to consider burn intensity. This was an incredibly hot fire above Santa Barbara and above Montecito. And when you get that incredibly hot fire, what you do is it really crystallizes the soil and really prevents any water from going and seeping through the soil. It just runs straight off, and it'll take any debris with it down the hill.
So the question is the use of WIA alerting, but in general I'm going to answer about all of our alerting methods. Just a little while ago we issued an alert. The methods that we used to issue the alert was the Aware and Prepare alerting system, which sent a text message, an email, and a phone call, a robo phone call to landlines as well as cell phones to everybody that signed up. And the robocalls to the landlines go to everyone whether they're signed up or not if they have a landline. We also issued the wireless emergency alert system. It's a 90-character message, so it's a bit cryptic, but what we put in there is for people to understand that if they're in a burn area that there's an evacuation tomorrow at noon. And that would target, hopefully, the people. And the reason I say hopefully is sometimes a message that goes out to a broader area than intended, but the target area is for the people in the burn areas. So the folks in the Thomas Fire, Whittier, Sherpa, and Alamo all received that WIA alert, and so that was sent out now so that people can understand that there's something of urgency. As we all know, during the 1/9 debris flow, there was some talk about the issuing of a WIA. Generally speaking, the WIAs for weather alerts are only done by the National Weather Service. So this WIA alert was just done as a heads up. When the National Weather Service issues a flash flood warning, they will also be using this WIA system. We may also use it at different times to alert the public. Unfortunately, it's limited to 90 characters and it makes for a very cryptic message. Well, I see that he's with us right now in the group here. The Southern California Gas, the Southern California Edison, the Water District and the Sanitary Districts, both in Carpinteria and in Montecito, will be joining us in the Emergency Operations Center during this storm. As well, they will have representation out with the incident management team at their command post.
The question was what steps will be taken to protect property that will be evacuated, and we can assure you that sheriff's deputies and allied agencies will be available and will be patrolling the areas that are evacuated. So there'll be a heavy law enforcement presence in those areas to protect those areas. I don't have those numbers off the. So 7,400 total is what I'm being told. The actual total number of high risk is somewhere on the order around 2,100, between 2,100 and 2,200. So the 74 would be all told. Those are residences. So if you figure average of 2.5 people or so per residence, you can do the math, and it's probably 17,000, 18,000 people.
The question was if we were going to alert if the 101, before we close the 101, if we have that opportunity, absolutely we will. We're going to be working with our partners in the fire department and the sheriff's department watching the hillside. And if they get any form of movement up there that gives us a signal that debris flow is coming, then we'll get it out there in our social media, to the news, press, that we are closing the 101, and we'll shut it down immediately. So if we're able to, absolutely, we will let you guys know.
Mr. Bolton? Yeah, how are you, sir? I'm good, good. Can I just ask a